Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is iRunShib, or Shib for short. I appreciate you being here today. The goal of this video is to dive into the Striker, talk about the skills to use, the combos to use them, and how to do the most damage in specifically PvP. Let's dive right in. So this is the build that I have running on the Striker. It's considered a meta build, but I also wanted to add two additional abilities that sometimes people swap out for the Halberd Thrust Kick. That is that ability here in the center. You'll see it's Phoenix Dive, which is essentially a dive into a location that will help freeze that location. It's a good little CC. And then Electric Wind Kick, which is just an alternative damage move to Halberd Thrust Kick. It helps combo a little better in abilities, but Halberd has more utilization in my opinion. So I think this is the build to rock. But obviously, feel free to try out the other abilities and see what kind of works best for you. So now we're in the combo portion of the video, but this is where I'm going to diverge from my other videos a little bit. The Striker has so many available combos, it would be a nuisance to put them all on the screen. So instead, I'm going to break his abilities out into three categories to make it easier for you to understand how the Striker works. The first category I want to dive into is his juggling abilities. The juggling abilities is really where the Striker shines. Their job on the team composition is to go to those backline subclasses and make sure those healers don't get their heals off, those damage dealers aren't able to damage, but instead are being juggled the entire time. So much CC. The two abilities I want to talk about are this Ascending Dragon Kick. It might be called something different in the West. It definitely will be called something different in the West. And then also Crescent Kick. These are your two openers in my opinion, and they both lead to the enemy being pushed into the sky. So Ascending Dragon Kick is going to look a little bit like this. So you first slide into them and then you punt them into the sky. You can then follow it up with a multitude of abilities to keep them juggled. Like for example, your Flying Dragon, which is a 3 different step ability, which will keep them bouncing into the sky to look a little bit like this. And then I followed up with my damage just move out of habit there a little bit. But as you can see, they kept juggling the entire time and they weren't able to do anything besides keep sustaining more and more damage. The next ability I want to dive into is that Crescent Kick. So this is another move that's going to dive at them instead of sliding, and then when I connect with the location, I will then do a backflip kick, launching them into the moon. That'll look a little bit like this. And I can continue with the same deal, keeping them juggled the entire time while keep performing damage. So let's just show you guys a little bit of what a combo could look like. Let's start off with our slide. So that throughout that entire experience, they're constantly being juggled, unable to be moving out of the combo. The third ability that can launch them into your air is your Flying Dragon ability. Specifically, the third part of the chain will pop them up into the air for a short duration. As you can see on that third attack, they're launching to the moon. It'll help you continue your combos and let you start off essentially doing what you were doing throughout the other openers. But I like to save that until later in the fight because I believe that these other two are a little easier to connect with. They're just easier to land and manage. Next, we'll get into your damaging abilities. And as you saw in the beginning of the first chain combo, I used that Halberd Thrust Kick to do a fair amount of damage after juggling for a while. That is typically your main source of damage on the Striker. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of damage from constantly keeping people juggled, but your strongest damage move is that Halberd Kick. That move right there is going to be your bread and butter on the Striker. As soon as you know that the enemy does not have a dodge roll out or has already used their escape, you want to make sure you get that move off after they're on the ground. I also like using that ability when I see that my enemies have someone CC'd, or if I need a little range, if somebody's getting caught in a stun in the middle of something, I have a little bit of range to connect with that ability. You can see it lands over here. So I think it's underutilized as kind of almost snipe when people are down, but I think it's a strong ability to just bust out there when you can. It's on a relatively short cooldown, and it makes you do a fair amount of damage on the side of your combos. The second ability to talk about in terms of quote-unquote damage would be your Thunder Kick. I like to sometimes start this as an opener as well, because although it doesn't juggle, it gets you a fair amount of distance traveled. I can get traveled over to that location, begin my combos, and then continue to start juggling and making sure people take a lot of damage. But it also does a fair amount of damage on its own, and it does even more damage to when they're weakened. Let's now discuss defensive abilities. And the first thing that I want to say is that all of your dashes that I previously have talked about can be used defensively to escape, so keep that in mind. But the main defensive abilities I want to talk about, or gauge generation abilities, are your Thunder Tread, which is the first ability. Anytime you're in the middle of a combo, you can use Thunder Tread, and it'll hit these enemies and build Gauge. So what is Gauge? We haven't really talked about that yet. Let me just quickly use it first. Gauge are these 3 orbs that the striker has. The more abilities you land, the more these orbs will fill out with a red meter, and once they're maxed, it'll move on to the next one, and you can hold a max of 3. The ability that we use in PvP costs 2 of them, costs 2 gauges, so you can try to fill up a third while you're holding on to it just to have one saved for, you know, your next set of combos and hopefully get you back to Tiger Toss quickly. So now that we're talking about Tiger Toss, we might as well mention it right now in the defensive abilities, although it can very much be used offensively. Let me quickly just gain Gauge fast. It can very much be used offensively, is that it is very good for stopping damage dealers or stopping tanks or anything from popping your teammates. It's very good at escaping, and it's very good at CCing. It is one of your very few super armors, and a lot of people like to use it at the end of a combo to do something like this, or let's just hit people a little bit just to show you guys. They'll use it right now just to add some solid damage to them. And while it's very strong for that aspect and it can be used that way, I consider it to be a move you want to use to save your teammates, to save yourself, or to be used defensively. So it'll look, let's gain Gauge again quickly. I think I can restore it right here. So if I see that this enemy is popping off on my teammates over here, doing a lot of damage to them, and I'm over here fighting, I've done a lot of combos, I might want to move over here and quickly clean him up so my guys can get up and continue doing damage to him. I want to use it as a saving aspect of my kit. Outside of Tiger Toss, which I think is a strong ability, quote unquote, one of your ultimates on this class is what they call these abilities that cost Gauge. The final ability I think is super useful is your Scorching Earth. We have it spec'd into ice so that it freezes. It looks like this. It's really good for combo setup, but at the end of your combos, if you're able to Scorching Earth and escape, it's a really good way of getting out. You can use it after you dive in, so, you know, it can look like this. Obviously, it's really good for setting up combos, but I can use it as a way to just get out while he's frozen or set up my teammates for hard-hitting moves. All right, so that was the skills and combos for the striker. Before we talk about and show some gameplay, I just wanted to say thank you very much for being here. If you like and support my stuff, I would greatly appreciate a subscribe here or a follow on any of my other social platforms in the description below. With all that being said, let's dive into the gameplay. Thank you very much, and I love you guys. I just hit buttons. Don't hit buttons, guys. Damage reduction, that means we gotta fight early. So we got hit with damage reduction, so we gotta fight early. Oh, I hit that freeze, you son of a... Oh, that's unlucky. Fuck. That's very unlucky. No! You will be mine. Get kicked! I landed on him. Better striker? Newer striker, better striker? No! Bop! Oh, I hit that too. I definitely did. You're getting juggled. Oh, I'm definitely dashing through these kids. No! And the CC train, outrageous. Let's go. No. Oh! I am fucking clean. Isaac. Froze his ass. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. Wow, we just fucked them up. That was fun as hell.